I have you. The storm will pass.
This child, she comes with darkness. She is a curse. I cannot touch her.
From that night, the newborn baby became a shadow among her own people. The storm was still raging when it happened. "Carry your child," the midwife said softly, stretching the crying baby toward the father. The hut fell silent. Even the fire seemed to shrink. The father stepped back. "No," he muttered. His voice was dry. "Afraid. Not until we know what she is." A gasp escaped the mother. The four elders exchanged heavy looks but said nothing. The baby cried louder. That was when the old midwife straightened her back. Her wrinkled hands tightened around the child. "She is a child," she said firmly. "And a child must not enter this world without a name." Lightning cracked across the sky. She lifted the newborn slightly, her voice rising above the thunder. "From this moment you are Adùnke, the one who is cherished, the one who will be cared for, whether they accept you or not." The father looked away. The elders remained silent. The storm continued. And just like that, named but unwanted, Adùnke took her first breath as a shadow among her own people. Years passed, and she grew into a quiet girl with dark, solemn eyes that seemed older than her years. Children ran from her in the market, and mothers hissed warnings. "Do not let her touch your baby, she brings misfortune." She watched the festivals from behind walls of people. Never invited, never welcomed. The talking drums played, the elders chanted, and she clutched herself in the corner, unseen yet ever present. The only person who ever offered her kindness was Mama Titi, the old widow who lived at the far edge of the village. She whispered Yoruba proverbs to her, pressed warm food into her hands, and smiled when no one else would. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and fireflies lit the grass, Adùnke's father came to her with an angry glare. "Are you? Your mother's death follows you. You have brought misfortune to this home. Leave before the village curses us all." She trembled, her hands shaking, but her eyes, though young, held a stubborn spark. "I didn't ask to be born," she whispered, voice barely audible over the wind. The father grunted and left, and she ran to Mama Titi, tears streaming down her cheeks. By the time Adùnke was 12, the village had learned to fear her like they would a shadow at dusk. A sick child in the neighboring compound, a cow that fell ill, a storm that toppled part of the granary, all blamed on her. The elders met in secret, muttering, "The curse grows with her. Something must be done before the gods punish us all." The children who had once laughed at her absence now whispered behind her back, their eyes wide with fear. One afternoon, as she wandered near the dried riverbed, she found Mama Titi sitting under the old iroko tree. The widow's eyes, sharp and knowing, met hers. "Omomi," she said, "do you know why they call you a curse?" Adùnke shook her head, biting her lip to keep from crying. Mama Titi's hand rested on her shoulder. "Because they are afraid. But fear does not make truth. One day, you will see what they refused to see." The words were soft, yet they burned into her heart. Then came the first real calamity that would escalate everything. The village crops failed suddenly, and the river that sustained them began to shrink. Chickens died inexplicably. Goats fell ill. The elders convened, their faces grave. The Baal, the village chief, raised his hand, declaring, "This is the child's doing. Her very presence brings calamity. We cannot ignore the signs any longer." Mothers pulled their children close, casting terrified glances at Adùnke as she sat by the edge of the square, silent but watching. One elder barked, "She must be banished," and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Adùnke felt something inside her harden. Fear, yes, but also something else, anger. She did not understand what had cursed the village, yet she felt the injustice of it, burning hotter than the sun. That night she ran to Mama Titi. "They want to drive me away. They hate me for something I did not do," she cried. The old woman held her close. "They fear what they do not understand, child. But listen, the night you were born, the chief did something forbidden. The lightning, the fire, your mother's death. It was never you. The curse. It was their secret that turned against them." Adùnke's eyes widened. "The chief," she whispered. He did this?" Mama Titi nodded gravely. "Yes. One day you will see." But for now you must be patient, learn and prepare. The truth is a heavy burden, and only you can carry it safely until the time comes. Days passed, and the village seemed to sink deeper into fear and unease. Crops withered beneath the relentless sun. Goats fell sick without reason, and the river that had fed the community began to shrink. Mothers muttered warnings to their children as they walked past Adùnke, their eyes wide with panic. Stay away lest you bring us more trouble, they whispered. Even the market, usually bustling with chatter, seemed quieter when she passed, as if the earth itself recoiled at her presence. One evening as the sun bled red behind the hills, Adùnke sat by the dried riverbed. Mama Titi appeared beside her, the old widow's eyes gleaming with a sharp intelligence. "Omo me," she said softly, "the elders are planning. They will act soon, and they will act with violence if necessary. You must be ready." Adùnke's hands clenched in her lap. "Ready? For what?" she asked, voice trembling. "To be driven out like an animal?" Mama Titi's gaze was steady. "To speak the truth. To show them the consequences of their sins. The Baal performed a ritual the night you were born. One forbidden by the ancestors. Your mother's death, the fire, the lightning. They are not marks of your curse. They are marks of their guilt." Adùnke's eyes widened, and a shiver ran down her spine. "But how? They will never believe me. They will mock me, beat me. Maybe even kill me for saying it." Mama Titi nodded. "Yes. They fear the truth because it shatters the world they built on lies. But you are the one who knows it. One day you will speak it, and the village will never be the same." That night Adùnke lay on the hard floor of the widow's hut, thinking of the Baal, the elders, the fearful villagers. For the first time she understood her power. Not strength of arms or wealth, but knowledge. The truth. And with it came a quiet fire inside her chest, burning away the fear she had carried for 12 long years. The following morning a loud drumbeat echoed through the village, calling all to the square. The Baal's voice boomed, carrying across the mud paths. "Gather in the center," he called. "The child must be removed before the full moon, or the gods will punish us." Mothers seized their children, whispering frantic warnings. Villagers cast uneasy glances at Adùnke as she stepped forward, silent but resolute. Every step felt heavier than the last. Yet she moved with the weight of years of isolation behind her. The elders whispered among themselves, planning the ceremony, deciding how they would exile the curse from their midst. Adùnke approached Mama Titi quietly. "I cannot wait any longer," she said, voice shaking. "I must speak. Tonight, before the moon rises, I will go to the gathering." Mama Titi gripped her hands tightly. "Omo me, the village is ready to see. The Baal fears the truth. The elders fear it. But you fear nothing because you have always known it. Speak, and let the truth break their illusions." As the sun set, the village seemed smaller, tighter, suffocating under the heat of fear. Children hid behind mothers, villagers crossed themselves, and the Baal paced before the elders, his face tight with anger and worry. "The child is dangerous," he muttered. "Do you not see the misfortune that follows her?" An elder nodded, voice low. "We cannot delay any longer. The full moon comes tomorrow. She must be removed. The gods will not forgive us if we falter." Adùnke stood at the edge of the square, invisible yet fully aware. Every whisper of fear, every glance of suspicion, every tremor in the villagers' voices was a thread she wove into a plan. She would not run. She would not hide. The time for waiting was over. Night fell, heavy and humid. The villagers lit small fires in preparation for the gathering, chanting prayers to appease the gods. The Baal raised his hand, demanding silence. Adùnke stepped forward, her voice breaking through the murmurs, calm yet ringing with authority. "You have blamed me for storms I did not summon, for fires I did not start, for sickness I did not bring," she said, her eyes scanning the crowd. "You called me a curse, but the truth is yours to own, not mine." A murmur of shock spread through the crowd. Mothers clutched their children, glancing around in disbelief. "What is she saying?" someone whispered. Adùnke's voice grew stronger. "The night I was born, the Baal performed a forbidden ritual. My mother's death, the lightning, the fire, it was not me. It was your fear, your greed, your sins. The curse you see is your own making. I am not the curse. I am the truth you have refused to face. The Baala's face turned red, and his voice boomed, trembling with anger and fear. How dare you accuse me? You are nothing but a child. I am nothing, Adùnke shouted back, voice rising above the murmurs and the drumbeats. I am the voice of what you have buried, the justice you have ignored. The crops fail, the river dries, the children fall ill. And you call me cursed? The misfortune is yours, not mine. Mama Titi stepped forward, placing a steady hand on Adùnke's shoulder. She speaks the truth, she said firmly. I have seen it with my own eyes. The Baala's ritual was forbidden. The child is innocent. The sins are yours. Gasps filled the square. Villagers looked around at one another, eyes widening as the realization began to spread. The elders whispered nervously, shifting under the weight of exposure. And then, as if the heavens agreed, lightning split the sky, thunder shaking the huts, and rain began to pour, pounding the earth in sheets. Adùnke's eyes glimmered with quiet triumph. She did not smile, she did not celebrate. She simply looked at the village and whispered almost to herself, I am not the curse. I am the truth. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, washing the mud paths and leaving tiny rivers running through the village. Villagers moved slowly, speaking in hushed tones, their eyes no longer filled with fear but with reflection. Some clutched at their chests, still shaken by the truth Adùnke had revealed, while others whispered apologies to one another, acknowledging years of blind prejudice. Adùnke walked beside Mama Titi, her bare feet sinking into the soft, wet earth. Do you think they will ever truly understand? She asked quietly. Mama Titi smiled, her face lined with age but full of warmth. Some will, Omomi. Some will always fear what they cannot see. But truth has a way of taking root, even in the hardest soil. You have planted a seed tonight, and it will grow. The village will change because of you. As they passed the huts, Adùnke noticed people stopping to look at her. Not with suspicion but with something new. Curiosity, wonder, even respect. Children no longer whispered behind their mother's skirts. Instead, they ran up to her, holding out their hands, laughing nervously. Mothers smiled cautiously and some whispered, We were wrong. She is not the curse. The Baal sat under a tree near the square, the staff of authority lying abandoned in the mud beside him. His face was pale, his pride shattered, yet there was a glimmer of something else, perhaps the first hint of understanding. One elder approached, bowing low. We have failed, Baal, he admitted. We let fear guide our judgment. We have wronged the child and ourselves. The Baal nodded slowly, eyes fixed on Adùnke. Yes, and she is right. All of it, the misfortunes, the fear, it is our doing. The child is innocent. His voice was barely audible, but it carried weight, and the villagers who heard it murmured agreement. Adùnke felt a lump rise in her throat. She had longed for acknowledgement, but not at the expense of hatred or shame. I do not want revenge, she said softly, addressing the crowd. I only ask that the village remembers this night. Remember what fear can do. Remember what lies can breed. And remember that the truth, no matter how late, must always be heard. The village square remained silent for a moment, then slowly, the villagers began to speak. Apologies, confessions, promises to change. Mothers offered to teach their children differently, fathers vowed to rebuild what had been neglected, and even the elders pledged to honor the old ways, consulting the ancestors before making decisions. It was not perfect, but it was a start. Over the following days, the village began to heal. Crops were tended with care, the riverbanks were repaired, and the talking drums rang out once more, this time in celebration rather than fear. Adùnke's presence was no longer a shadow but a light. Children followed her to the river to help clean it, and mothers brought food and smiles. Even the Baal sought her counsel, asking her perspective on matters he would have once dismissed. Mama Titi watched quietly, pride shining in her eyes. You see, Omomi, she said, your life was never meant to be a curse. It was meant to awaken the village, to show them the weight of fear and the power of truth. You are not just a child, you are a guide. Adùnke smiled softly. The first time in years she felt the warmth of belonging. I never imagined it could feel like this, she whispered. To be seen not as a shadow but as part of something. Weeks turned to months, And the story of the girl once called a curse became a legend whispered along the hills and rivers of the village. Travelers would come to hear it, and mothers would tell their children the tale of Adùnke, the child of truth, the girl who stood against fear and changed the hearts of all who had doubted her. On quiet nights, Adùnke would sit beneath the same iroko tree where Mama Titi had first explained the secret of her birth. The fireflies would dance in the air, the river would hum softly, and she would feel the presence of the ancestors around her, acknowledging the courage it had taken to speak the truth. And in those moments she would whisper to herself, the rain and the wind carrying her words into the night, "I am not the curse. I am the truth, and the truth will always endure." The village was no longer a place of fear. It had been reborn through the courage of one girl who refused to be silenced. And Adùnke, once shunned and whispered about in dread, now walked freely, a symbol of justice, strength, and the enduring power of truth. If you enjoyed this story and want more captivating tales set in Yoruba villages, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Which part of Adùnke's journey inspired you the most? Let us know, we love hearing from you.